Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of College and Career Pathways, where every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday we provide you with information on various colleges and universities, financial aid resources, training programs, skilled trade professions, career readiness skills, all designed to help you make the best career decisions possible. I'm Toni Cureton, your host, and today we are with the Plumbers Apprenticeship Program. Lyle, thank you for coming back. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you. So I do have a little PowerPoint that I'm going to go through.
Good deal.
Can you see that?
Yes.
All right. So I am Ryan Lyle. I'm the Director of Training at the Plumbing Industry Training Center. We work in association with the Plumbers Local 98 and MCA Detroit. A little history of plumbing. Plumber originally gets its name from plumbum, which meant worker of lead from the Romans. And it is our job to protect the health of the nation with potable water and sanitary drainage. All great civilizations had some sort of plumbing where the very first systems essentially took storm water away from the town so they wouldn't flood out. And then later on, China and Greece and Rome all had modern aqueducts where they would actually bring water into the city and get rid of their wastewater. An aqueduct is essentially a really large waterway. Rome's Great Sewer, the tunnel of it, the end of it is actually still on display, and it worked for about 17 centuries. It's still on display in the town, and there's actually parts of it that were still used as late as the 1840s. And there is actually a small chunk that is still in use today, which is a testament to the Romans and how much they actually thought about civilized life and plumbing. Everywhere they went and conquered, they took their aqueducts with them. And this was essential for keeping their troops healthy when they were there. There is still many of them on display. The most impressive happens to be in southern France. This is the Pointe de Garde Aqueduct. And the way they used to make pipes, they would lay out their, however many fingers wide it was. They would take a sheet of lead because it was easy to work with, roll it over a wooden dowel, put a bead of solder in there, and then pound it together. Without potable water, large concentrations of people isn't really possible. Everybody would become very sick relatively quickly. And in order to keep people healthy, you have to remove the wastewater, treat it to a point of disposal. If you don't treat it and you just put it into the river, you're contaminating somebody else's drinking water. So you do have to treat it before you send it out. So we install plumbing systems that convey potable water, sanitary drainage, stormwater, gas piping, medical gas piping, and all these things lead to a huge increase in life expectancy of people. It wasn't too long ago where life expectancy was less than 60. Right now, I believe it is mid to upper 70s. So that is a testament to potable water and sanitary drainage systems that didn't really come about until a little after 1900 for indoor plumbing. So that's a little history of plumbing, and now a little bit more about our apprenticeship program. So it is a blend of training here at our center and on the job training where, you'll spend about 90% of your time. This is a class we took in a couple years ago. We typically take in 2 classes a year. We take one in spring and one in fall. And in order to apply, you do have to be 18 by the start of class. You can be 17 at the time of application. We do have 4 tests that are required in order to submit an application. That's the work keys. You have to get a 6 in applied math, a 5 in workplace documents, and a 5 in graphic literacy. We'll accept scores as far as 2 years old. And we have a Wisen test of mechanical aptitude that you have to finish in the 85th percentile on. And our application and our website is found at plumbers98tc.org. I have that on a later slide too that you'll be able to see. Our apprenticeship program starts with a 5-week boot camp. That way we can take people who don't necessarily know what to expect on a construction site and make sure they're safe and have a little bit of know-how when they go out there. So it does blend classroom and hands-on instruction. We have multiple vendors that come in. We do a 40-hour construction week that has OSHA 30 included in it. We start talking about use and care of tools, basic rigging, and start doing some welding. The first week is pretty mundane. We have some administrative paperwork. We introduce all our apprentices to both the labor side and the management side of things. We make sure they get signed up for a Michigan plumbing apprentice license. And part of going through our program, you also receive a Washtenaw Community College associate degree in applied sciences. So we get them enrolled for that too. We do some diversity training. We deal with many different walks of life and feel that it's a really needed thing to do some diversity and harassment training. We talk a little bit about financial literacy. That way, when they turn into journeymen or journey persons, that they start getting that big check and hopefully they don't blow it all. We bring Hilti in to talk about fire stop training and powder actuated tools. Both of those come with certifications. And part of it is, learning about all the different types of pipe and materials that we use and joining methods for cast iron, PVC, PEX, copper. There are many different pipe materials out there that we work with, and we try to get them familiar with that. And we do aerial and scissor lift training. If you're really, really scared of heights, this might not be for you. If you do enjoy going up high, some of our work is done at some pretty good elevations. So we bring in a aerial and scissor lift trainer for that. Over here in the left, this is one of our classes that's snapping cast iron, something that we do quite a bit in the field. And then in that middle picture, we are threading some pipe. We still do quite a bit of that. And then on the right-hand side is torch cutting some pipe. That kind of goes along with welding and fitting. And that is something that is a pretty acquired skill. So after that boot camp, they go out to work for one of our signatory contractors. And once every 2 weeks, the apprentice comes to our training center. They get essentially 12 hours of training. They have 8 hours of reimbursed day school. They essentially get paid like they're at the job. And then 4 hours, that is essentially on their own dime, of welding at night. So the first year, we go into trade-related math. We call it trade-related math, so we're really not using terms like geometry and trigonometry, which it pretty much is. We get into pipes, fittings, valves. That goes more into detail of what different types of material we're using. And then we get into soldering and brazing. It is a skill that takes a little bit of time to get decent at. And then we get into drawing isometrics, so we can actually draw the piping system that we'd be working on. And just like the other 2 years here in the first 3, welding is in the evening of those classes. So we do a total of about 300 hours of welding through those 3 years. And in the second year of classes, we start talking about trade-related science. Our drawing turns into a little bit more plan reading and CAD. And water supply and distribution, which is really our bread and butter. And that is essentially all the piping inside the building that disperses potable water. We do a comment training that makes people aware and our apprentices aware of talking to people about the union. In year 3, we get into sanitary and storm drainage. This also covers venting. There is quite a bit of information for the plumber in that class. A lot of what we do goes through pumps, so we spend some time on that. We practice installing fixtures and go over the different types of fixtures there are. We spend a little bit of time on service. Now, our trade isn't necessarily the go unclog the toilet or sink. That's not primarily what our contractors do. Most of our contractors are out there installing equipment, and if we have a service call, it's more likely to diagnose and troubleshoot a water heater, or why water's not flowing, or why there's a leak, not necessarily unclogging drains. In the 4th year of our program, it's once every 2 weeks. It eliminates the night class, so it's all days. This is where we get into certifications really heavy. In order to take that state code test, you have to have 6,000 hours as a registered apprentice over no less than 3 years. So most of the time, our apprentices have that by this point. So we do a test prep for that particular test. And then we get into a cross-connection control tester where we test backflow preventers that keeps potable water potable. And if it gets contaminated, it keeps it from going back into the public water main. So there's a certification to test that. And then we do a class on fuel gas systems. And that's predominantly natural gas around here. We do touch on propane a little bit. Fuel oil and things of that nature are pretty much gone by this point in time for the things that we work on. I think it is predominantly just natural gas. In the 5th year, day classes are eliminated, and it is once a week at night, and we get into more certifications. So we have a medical gas installer certification that we do. And that allows us to install all medical gas piping in hospitals, like oxygen, nitrous oxide, nitrogen, several other lines that are in the hospital, that make sure that the gases don't get crossed, and everybody, when they're supposed to be breathing oxygen, that's what they're breathing. We do a foreman supervision certification where it's essentially a class on how to run work and be a supervisor on the job. We also do some tube bending that is pretty heavily involved in math. And those backflow preventers that we certified to test, we also have a certification to repair them. So we do that one as well. And then the program concludes with UA Star exam, which is a pretty heavy, extensive plumbing test. It has about 200 questions on it. And those are the 5 years in a nutshell. So these are the 5 that are required to graduate from our program at Michigan, the state of Michigan Journey Plumber License, the ASSE 5110 Backflow Assembly Tester Certification, the Medical Gas Installer Certification, the Plumbing Star Exam, and an associate degree from Washtenaw Community College. The way that works is they give us 45 credit hours for our program, and then they offer two different routes for us. They offer a journeyman industrial that is essentially 5 classes or 15 credit hours through them. And there's also a construction supervision associate degree that they offer that is a combination of 9 classes. We also do journey upgrade classes for the apprentice that can't necessarily get in to the program as an apprentice if they've gone and worked elsewhere and get into the local as some sort of journey status. Then they can come here and get journey upgrades so they can get to our unrestricted rate. Or if somebody wants to take a master's exam, we do a little bit of code class in order for people to go up there and take their master's. This is a picture of our plumbing shop area. You see the big backflow preventers that we use for repair class in the forefront. And then in the background on those big boards is our backflow preventers that we do our tester class on. This one down here is a picture of our mock hospital that we get to show med gas in firsthand so people actually understand what they're looking at. So we offer industrial rigging, welding, tube bending, and a number of other classes for journeymen and apprentices that want to upgrade their skills. We have actually added this at this point. Happy to say we do have computers that run Revit and BIM 360 and AutoCAD. They all kind of work in conjunction. This is where all larger construction sites are headed. Now, I'm sure everybody's heard of buildings being green. We also offer a class on green fundamentals, plumbing and mechanical. It focuses on water conservation and things that you can do to help that. We also run a ICRA class, as we call it. This is so we can speak the same language as the hospitals. And a lot of our work is in there, and they are very concerned over their water quality because they have people that are already immune compromised. So we try to assure them that their water quality is taken care of. There's several bacteria that can exist in water, and without proper treatment, make people pretty ill. So we make sure that it's good to go and potable. That plumbing service class has been added. We recently, about a year or two ago now, got Chromebooks so we can do classwork on them, and almost all of the tests we do are online now. So we really needed those. And we also recently got those new CAD computers to run AutoCAD, Revit, and BIM 360. We upgraded our ventilation in our welding shop area. Before, there might be a little plume, and now you can't even really tell anybody's welding except for the noise, the light, and the sparks. So this was a downdraft table that we added, so it actually pulls the fumes down and then out through the roof as opposed to straight overhead. Couple soldering and brazing stations that we added. And before this, each booth had a snorkel that, unless the snorkel was directly over top of the work and directly 12 inches above it, it would let a lot of the welding smoke out. And welding smoke is not exactly the best for people. So we went with these individual hoods, and it pulls all the fumes out now. We have 14 booths here. And then we managed to add 3 booths in another area, predominantly used for TIG welding. Most of the apprentices we go through the program do stick welding. And then if they get good enough at that, they move on to TIG and MIG and do other processes. And we isolated the shop from the rest of the building so we don't have thus transfer over. Added a new office in the back for the welding instructor. And, always looking at upgrading our facility. So we're essentially going to do quite a bit of repair to our parking lot come spring. And we want to add a sand pit and a mezzanine. That way we can actually mock up a plumbing system from the underground where we would start all the way to the roughing and poke through the ceiling as we would on the job. So our application process is open year round. Deadline for this next round is July 28th. You do have to be at least 17 at the time of application and 18 when we start class. You have to have a valid driver's license and be a Michigan resident. Have graduated high school or equivalent. And those are the test scores there again. And again, that is found at plumbers98tc.org. And like I said, we work with Local 98. That is their website, and MCA Detroit is right there. You can go to either of those sites to find out what our pay is. Our pay is essentially, I believe it starts right around $17 an hour for a first-year apprentice. And the total package on a journeyman is right around $80 an hour. But if you go to mcadetroit.org and look up labor wage rates, all that information is on there. So with that, I can leave it open for some questions if you have any. But that is our program in a nutshell there.
Thanks so much, Ryan. I did want to ask, when a student is applying to be a part of the apprenticeship program, if they are successful and receive admission, they begin working along with the classroom training?
Yes. So after our 5-week boot camp that we bring them in for, they go to work for one of our signatory contractors.
Okay.
They work in the field for 9 out of 10 days and come to us for one of them.
Okay. And the contractor that they get connected with initially is the one that they will stay with throughout their 5-year program, correct?
Not necessarily. We have, I don't know the exact number of contractors, but we have quite a few.
Mhm.
And construction is cyclical. Sometimes work is really prevalent, sometimes it's not. Each contractor may very well have a lot of work and then not a lot of work. So they may very well get laid off and go to another contractor.
Okay. And then I also wanted to ask, each cohort class, what is the success rate that they complete and become plumbers?
Right around 90%.
Oh, good. That's excellent.
Our retention rate is pretty good.
And if there are students that have difficulty in certain areas that you're training them in, is there an ability to receive additional tutoring or instruction in that particular area so that they become proficient?
Yes, our instructors are always available. And, as long as they're reaching out and asking for the help, we try to provide any help we can.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, thank you so much, Ryan. It was an excellent presentation.
Yeah,
We
thank you for having
appreciate
me.
your time and you coming and sharing the information about your program.
Thank you for having me, and I look forward to doing it again.
Good deal. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining in, and everybody have a great day.